I got something I'm pretty excited about. Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and it's been a minute since I got in many fish, and this is just one new species, but I'm super geeked because this is actually a species that I used to carry years ago that I sold all of, and then one of my customers bought them, figured out how to breed them, and now I have them back. And that is the Purple Oil Catfish. Centromochlus reticulatus. Oh my god, they're so cute. They are similar to the honeycomb cats I have, but way rarer. And they, as you can see, they're purple. So I have about 130 of them here. I'm going to keep about 30 for myself, but the rest will end up being for sale once I've had them for a bit. But let's go ahead and get them out of this box and into some aquariums. So I actually have 3 aquariums prepped for these guys, as there's so many of them. As I mentioned, I have about 130 of them here. The tricky thing with this particular fish is that you can't net them. They have these really, really barbed pectoral spines. So what I'm going to do is pour out as much water as possible and then add the little bit of water in the fish into these containers and then move them into their aquariums. Now, when I used to sell these, I would hand catch them. It's a little bit more tricky to do in a bag with edges, which is why, oh my god, wait till you guys see these, which is why I'm doing it this way. And I'm just going through, I'll do a few bags at a time. Again, these are similar to those honeycomb cats in that the males have that modified anal fin that they use for internal fertilization, and then females lay eggs. It'd be nice if they wouldn't hide in the bag corners. Now, like most wood cats, these guys do like to shove themselves into every nook and cranny in your aquarium. But I found when I had a whole lot of them that they were actually pretty outgoing. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case again. And as I've shown you guys with my honeycomb cats, there really is strength in numbers for their behavior. And I don't think these guys will be any exception. Now they're going to start out in the fish room in relatively small aquariums, just as they adjust, and until I get to move a bunch of stuff outside. Then they'll get upgraded to a 55 at least. I hear you, Pepper. Let me show you what they look like real quick. See how they have that purple color and that rich honeycomb pattern? They are so stinking cute. Oh. These guys are super unusual. I guess on average they sell for about $30 a fish. So it's pretty exciting to me to have this many of them. Now I've set up 3 aquariums, as I mentioned, in the fish room, all of that which are relatively small. But all of which are extremely well cycled. And they're not as bare as my typical quarantine tank, mainly because I know the source of these fish, and the source of these fish was originally me. And then they've been kept in a species tank by my friend. I'm just making sure I get all of them out of the corners of the bags. Please ignore the other catfish hollering in the background. So what I do, I open each bag. Take out the poly filter. Now poly filter, I've told you guys about a bunch in the past. This absorbs and adsorbs ammonia as well as other impurities. You certainly don't need to use a piece that big. Then I check in the bag to see if there's any casualties. And I take the bag and I cup it over my hand so that the fish can't swim out. And I remove as much of that water as possible. Then I add the fish to this container. Now you may be wondering why I'm not doing a more typical drip acclimation, and I have an entire video with my opinions on acclimation. These fish at the breeder's house were kept in very soft water. My water is neutral, so it has a fair bit more hardness than his does, which means the fish should acclimate just fine. If he was keeping them in profoundly hard water, I would do a much more prolonged acclimation so that the fish could adjust. But osmotically speaking, they should do just fine. Now again, I'm going to the sink and I'm going to pour out the excess water, making sure not to pour out any fish. And then when there's basically no water left in the container, I'll pour them into the tank. You can see immediately upon adding them to the aquarium, they're acting exactly the way they're supposed to. Zipping around like little Tasmanian devils. Stirring things up. Now there is a spattering of sand in here, which is what you see them kicking up all over the place. But yeah, no worse for the wear. And again, with this species, I put in a few pieces of driftwood and some plants for their quarantine time. Just because otherwise, if they're out in the open, they feel really, really stressed. And they're a high dollar fish. They're a fish that I am especially into. I want to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. So here they are immediately after being added to their quarantine tank. Their color's already coming back. They are acting as they're supposed to, zipping around all over the place, doing catfishy things. So I'm pretty stoked. Now, once they get through these first few days, look at them, I will add in some botanicals for them. There's like handfuls of sand in all the quarantine tanks that I have set up for them, but nothing too dramatic, as I really want to be able to monitor them and make sure they've adjusted well. There is polyfilter in their aquarium as well to absorb any ammonia that may develop from adding so many fish. But all you see everywhere is little wiggly tails. So I just dropped some frozen baby brine into this aquarium, and right now it looks largely empty. There are a few Coreodoris and some loaches in here, and I think a few random Danios as well. This is another tank of like misfit critters that just get to live out their life in the fish room. But I imagine here in a minute there's going to be fish coming out of the woodwork. Now again, once these guys are all settled in, I will add some dark substrate and the botanicals and more wood for them, which will make them much more outgoing and also reinforce their purple color. Right now they've only been in the aquarium for about a day, so they're a bit washed out, but their bellies get a bright pink color and their body gets a rich purple color that you don't often see in freshwater fish. Anyway, I think they're super adorable, and I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing them too. Make sure you subscribe with that notification bell on so you don't miss any updates on these guys, as well as information on all the various projects going on around the fish room and the tubs.